Amid endless reports, arranged dinners, and silences that weigh more than they should, a young woman realizes that her life is running on autopilot, until a failed encounter exposes old wounds and awakens something unexpected. What begins as just another uncomfortable night turns into a breaking point, pushing her toward choices that will change not only her body, but also the way she sees herself. Among falls, new beginnings, and unexpected encounters, she will discover that true value was never where she was looking for it. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. Hannah Miller entered the 45 Macon apartment and let the keys fall onto the entrance table with a metallic jingle. A long sigh escaped her lips as she massaged her tense neck. Thursday, 7:32 p.m. The red light on the answering machine was flashing insistently. "Hannah, it's Julie. We need to talk about Saturday. Lisa got us a table at that new restaurant. And, well, she brought a friend who's in town. He's a doctor, single, and perfect for you. Call back. Don't try to escape this time." She rolled her eyes, but an involuntary smile emerged. Julie and her eternal optimism. Since accounting college, her friend had been trying to set her up on dates. Hannah opened the fridge and stared at the almost empty interior. A yogurt container, some wilted vegetables and leftover Chinese food. She grabbed the leftovers and heated them in the microwave while checking emails on her phone. More reports to finish by Monday. The promotion to assistant manager required extra hours, which she didn't mind putting in. Her job at the auditing firm gave her stability, something she valued above all else. She ate absent-mindedly while looking out the window. The sky was darkening and she could see the reflections of the city lights beginning to flicker. There was a beauty in that, she thought, in being alone, watching life happen out there. But lately, this feeling had been accompanied by a growing discomfort. Hannah was not unhappy. She had solid achievements for someone who was 26. A completed education, a stable job, a small apartment she managed to finance. But something was missing. Perhaps it was what Julie had with Thomas, that partnership overflowing with shared plans. Or what Lisa was experiencing with her recent engagement, full of wedding details that Hannah helped choose. She was always the reliable friend, the one who listened, advised, supported, the one who went home alone after the celebrations. The next morning, the phone rang as she was getting ready to leave. "Hannah, you still haven't called me back." Julie's voice was loaded with mock indignation. "Please say you're coming on Saturday." "Julie, you know how these arranged meetups are." "Disastrous." "Yes, but eventually one will work out. Law of probabilities, remember? You taught me that." Hannah smiled. "Using statistics against me." "Whatever it takes. Hannah, you work too much. When was the last time you went out for something that wasn't work or our girls' nights?" Silence answered for her. "It's just a dinner," Julie continued, "and Ryan is nice. Nothing too formal, I promise." Hannah looked at the reflection in the hallway mirror. She saw what she always saw, a medium-height woman with some extra pounds distributed in curves that not even the best-cut business attire could completely disguise. Wavy brown hair tied up in a practical bun, green eyes that her mother always said were her best feature. "All right," she finally relented. "But if it's horrible, you owe me a month of desserts at the cafe near the office." Saturday arrived too quickly. Hannah spent the afternoon in fitting rooms, trying on clothes she would never buy. Finally, she settled on a navy blue dress that flattered her silhouette without drawing too much attention. "I'm not trying to impress anyone," she murmured to herself while applying a subtle lipstick, but her racing heart said otherwise. There was a timid hope she tried to suppress. What if this time it was different? The new restaurant was called Aconchego, and it was exactly as the name suggested, cozy, with rustic wooden furniture and plants adorning every corner. Hannah arrived punctually at 8 p.m., 10 minutes after the agreed time. She didn't want to be the first to arrive. As she entered, she took a deep breath. The aroma of homemade bread and fresh herbs filled the air. Her eyes scanned the room, looking for Julie. Instead, she met the gaze of a man sitting alone. Tall, dark hair, perfectly styled, immaculate suit. He stared at her for a second, and even from a distance, Hannah recognized the expression. She had seen it before. Disappointment. The man looked at his watch, then at her again, and his expression changed. He stood up, grabbing the jacket that was draped over the chair. Hannah felt her face heat up. She walked toward the table, determined not to let him judge her without at least talking. But before she reached it, the man, Ryan, she presumed, walked past her toward the exit. When they were close, she clearly heard the muttered words, "Not my type." Just like that. 4 words, and all the effort she had made to be there crumbled. Hannah stood in the middle of the restaurant, feeling as exposed as an open wound. Conversations around her continued, but in her head there was only silence. Recovering from the initial shock, she adjusted the bag on her shoulder and turned to leave. That's when she felt a gentle hand touch her arm. "Mum, is everything okay?" It was one of the waiters, tall with broad shoulders and gentle features framed by untidy brown hair. His badge read, Garrett. "I'm fine," she replied automatically, although her voice betrayed otherwise. "Can I offer you a glass of water? Or maybe call someone?" There was genuine concern in his eyes. Hannah felt the tears forming. "No, thank you. I just need to go." She gently disentangled herself and left, maintaining an upright posture until she was out of sight. In the taxi home, the tears finally came, silently. She didn't cry for the man she barely knew, but for the pattern that was repeating, for the feeling of never being enough. At home, after 3 missed calls from Julie, Hannah stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her eyes were swollen, her face marked by tears. She ran her fingers over the outline of her own body, feeling each curve as a flaw. "This ends today," she said to the reflection. The next morning, Hannah woke up determined. She downloaded calorie-counting apps, signed up for a gym, and emptied the pantry of any food she considered fattening. From that day on, she would eat only what was necessary to survive. In the weeks that followed, she turned this determination into an obsession. She reduced her meals, skipped lunches, and started running every morning even if her legs protested. Her body, unaccustomed to the new regimen, began sending warning signs: dizziness, weakness, difficulty concentrating. But Hannah only saw the number on the scale diminishing. At the office, the change did not go unnoticed. "Are you okay, Hannah?" her supervisor asked after seeing her sway slightly when she stood up from her desk. "You look pale." "I'm fine," she replied with a forced smile. "Just a little tired." The collapse happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Hannah was presenting reports in a meeting when the room began to spin. She tried to brace herself against the table, but her legs gave way. The last thing she heard were alarmed voices calling her name. She woke up on a hospital gurney with Julie sitting by her side. "What happened?" she asked, feeling her throat dry. "You fainted, you stubborn one." Julie was holding her hand tightly. "Severe dehydration, extremely low blood pressure. The doctor said you haven't been eating properly." Her eyes were red. "Why are you doing this, Han?" It was as if a dam had burst. Hannah told her everything: the encounter, the cruel words, the self-destructive determination to prove something to a stranger. Julie listened without interrupting, her features alternating between anger and sadness. "So you decided to starve yourself because of an idiot who doesn't even deserve to have you remember his name?" Julie finally asked. "It sounds pretty stupid when you put it like that," Hannah replied with a weak smile. "It is stupid and dangerous." Julie took a deep breath. "Look, if you want to change, change. But do it for yourself, not for revenge against someone who doesn't even know you exist." Hannah was discharged the next day, with clear instructions on eating and a recommendation to seek professional help. For the first time in weeks, she ate without counting calories, a simple homemade meal her mother prepared after learning of the situation. The following week, she enrolled in a gym near her workplace, this time with proper guidance. The instructor, a man named Martin, developed a realistic plan that respected her limits. It was no longer about losing weight quickly, but about gaining health gradually. It was at this new gym that she ran into Garrett again. He was leaving a class when he saw her on the treadmill. "Hey, I know you," he said as he approached. "From Aconchego restaurant, right?" Hannah felt her face flush with embarrassment at the memory. "Yes. It wasn't my best night." "Well, anyone who passed up your company clearly missed the chance to meet someone interesting." There was a genuine smile on his face. "I'm Garrett Lewis." Hannah Miller. In the following days, their schedules often coincided. Garrett was always nearby, offering tips, chatting about trivial matters while they trained. There was no pressure, just a pleasant company that Hannah began to appreciate. He worked at the restaurant only on Fridays and Saturdays. During the week, he studied to finish his physiotherapy course. There was something refreshing about his honesty. About the financial difficulties, about the interrupted studies, about the dreams postponed but not abandoned. 3 months went by. Hannah didn't lose weight drastically, but her body changed. She gained muscles, endurance, a new posture. More importantly, she regained the sparkle in her eyes that the obsession had stolen. "You know what I should do?" she said to Julie during an afternoon coffee. "Set up another date with that Ryan. Show him what he missed." Julie frowned. "Han, do you really want to spend energy on that?" "It's not about him," Hannah replied. "It's about closing a cycle, showing myself that I've overcome it." Despite her friend's objections, Hannah managed to get Julie to arrange another date at the same restaurant. This time, she dressed with more confidence, a red dress she would never have considered before, with her hair down, makeup that highlighted her green eyes. Upon entering the Aconchego restaurant, she saw Garrett working. He recognized her immediately and smiled, discreetly waving. Hannah waited at the reserved table, feeling strangely calm. 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Ryan simply didn't show up. Garrett approached, looking hesitant. "Hannah, are you waiting for someone?" "I was," she replied, surprising herself with her own calmness. "But I guess I'm being foolish again." "The guy's an idiot," Garrett said, sitting down briefly. "Look, my shift ends in 20 minutes. If you want company for dinner, just as friends." Hannah smiled, feeling an unexpected warmth. "I'd love to." That night marked a new beginning. They talked for hours, discovering shared interests, science fiction books, bad horror movies, outdoor hikes. Garrett walked her home and, upon saying goodbye, asked for permission to see her again. "Not as friends this time," he said with a shy smile. "As a real date." In the weeks that followed, Hannah discovered what it was like to be with someone who saw her completely. Not just her body, but her intelligence, her humor, her insecurities. Garrett liked her exactly as she was, not for being perfect, but for being authentic. 6 months later, during a walk in the park, Hannah saw a familiar man, Ryan. He passed by them without recognizing her, absorbed in his phone. For a moment, she felt the old impulse to catch his attention, to show him how different she was. But then, she looked at Garrett, who was holding her hand while talking about his plans for the physical therapy clinic he dreamed of opening, and she realized she had nothing to prove. Her victory wasn't in the pounds lost or the toned body. It was in the freedom to love without fear, the courage to be seen, the certainty that she deserved someone who chose every version of her. "Are you okay?" Garrett asked, noticing her momentary silence. Hannah smiled, squeezing her hand. "Perfect," she replied. And for the first time in a long time, it was true. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.